Thank you to MagicMind for sponsoring this video. More about that in just a moment. I am finally back in my home state of Indiana after an enormous amount of travel. Today, I want to talk about being our authentic self. This is something we hear a lot of in the breathwork space and a lot of in just health and wellness, all this stuff. And this last week, I was graduating the second class of the Language of Breath Breathworker School. If you're interested in Language of Breath Breathworker School, I'll just throw this in. You can go to languageofbreathcollective.com, take a look at the link below. Language of Breath is more than just a single technique or, just another way to do circular breathing or something like that. It is totally different. It is a absolutely different thing. So for more about that, my book is coming out this October, or you can check out our online course. So the question came up, we were all talking, when we do these breathwork schools, it's like the funnest thing ever. Not only are you learning about your conscious self, your unconscious self, how things interface, how breathing plays a role, and how breathing is really only half of what breathwork is, at least within the language of breath perspective. So we were talking about this, and the question came up, do you think you could ever really be your authentic self? First of all, that's kind of ambiguous. It's hard to know what is it that you even mean when you say your authentic self. So in my view, being your authentic self would mean that your actions and your thoughts are in alignment with your values, okay? And that would be, okay, I'm acting and thinking authentically. That is my authentic self. And we talked about this, and my answer to this, and this is based in really one of the foundations of the language of breath philosophy, is that you are always your authentic self. And it's hard to think about this. Well, wait a minute. I am not always my authentic self. There's times I'm not acting in accordance with my values. There's a lot of thoughts that I have, a lot of habits that I have are not in alignment with my values. How can you say that I'm always being my authentic self? And this is where we have to come back to understanding what we are as a human being. So, for instance, maybe you might say, I've been lying a lot. Maybe it's that I'm behaving in a way that is like, it's not me. I'm acting like other people want me to act. This might be hard to understand, or even a hard pill to swallow. But the way this works is that there is a conscious you and an unconscious you. And the unconscious you is just as much you as the conscious you. In fact, it's more you than the conscious you. So you can consciously say, my values are X, Y, and Z. And if I were being authentic, I would not act against those values. The problem is, more of you is unconscious than what is conscious. So this is where it's interesting. So the unconscious you is about 90 to 95% of who you are. Your personality, your morals, your values, your outlook on life, your prejudices, your sense of humor. All of those things are you, and they're at an unconscious level. And it's only when they're needed or whenever the unconscious part of you kicks it up to the conscious part of you that you become consciously aware of these things. But most of you is unconscious. And what happens is the experiences that we have, the inputs that we've had all throughout our life shape the values, the sense of humor, the outlook, the prejudices, all of these things that the unconscious parts of us have. And you have to understand, the unconscious you has a major job. That biggest job of the unconscious you is survival and thriving within your environment. So that can mean your social environment. Most of the time it really does, because you have to understand we are a social creature, human beings are. And that means that we understand that our survival is very, very dependent on our ability to maintain social value and to maintain a place within social hierarchies. So, how does this relate to being your authentic self? Well, I forgot what I was going to say. Do you struggle with brain farts? Flatulence of the mind? Flatulence of where you were going with that topic you were just discussing? If you do, you are not alone, my friends. You are not alone because, hey, it happens. You didn't get enough sleep last night. You're a person like me and you're constantly talking. You're always in front of people. You're on podcasts and all these things. Eventually, sometimes you just lose track of thought. And there's ways to breathe to improve that. There's ways to live your life to improve that. But sometimes we need a little extra boost. So when those times happen, I highly recommend MagicMind. I take MagicMind every single day. It's got an all-natural blend of nootropics that do more than just help you to keep your train of thought. So for instance, it has ashwagandha and phosphatidylserine in it. Both of those supplements have been shown to reduce cortisol, which is the enemy of testosterone. So I take it for more than one reason, but to avoid that brain flatulence, I highly recommend MagicMind. All right, guys, back to the video. Now I remember. Conscious self, unconscious self. So your unconscious self is always trying to help you to survive and thrive, right? It's not just survival. It's also, I would like to thrive. I want to gain status. I want to increase my stores of wealth or food or social hierarchy. I want to, all of those things, right? And so in this process, all of your experiences in life, plus your internal desire to thrive and survive, they combine to form your actual values. So this is done without your conscious awareness. And it's something that you can be, that your conscious awareness, you can consciously have certain values and act against them because the unconscious you is more you than the conscious you, and it will have its own say. Now, having said that, the conscious you do have the ability to override the unconscious you. So you feel this impulse to lie or to do something dishonest, and that would be something, okay, I'm going to lie in order to get a raise, or I'm going to do something dishonest in order to survive or have some kind of a beneficial result within social hierarchy or any kind of hierarchy that I'm in. Well, the conscious you might say, hey, that's not what I want to do. So you can override that. But the unconscious you will give you those impulses. And ultimately, if the conscious you agrees, okay, I'll go along with it, that unconscious you is going to tell you what to do. It's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's just a thing. It's just what we are as human beings. So this is why you have to raise yourself. This is so important. You have to raise yourself like a child. Would you put a child in a place where there's a bunch of liars, or in a situation where there's all kinds of inputs that will likely be bad influences? No, you wouldn't. Well, I hope you wouldn't, at least. Well, why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we watch things on, why do we watch movies and videos and things that are negative, that are against the values that we actually have? Why would you be around people that have values that conflict with the values you'd like to have? You think that consciously you are strong enough to withstand all of this, but you're not. It's just like what mom and dad used to tell you, that music that you're listening to, it's going to put bad things in your head. No, mom, I know the difference. Well, yeah, consciously you might know. Those video games, those movies, those people you're around, no, I know the difference. I can make the decisions. I don't have to fall for, all of that. It's not impacting me. Well, it is. You're teaching your unconscious self with every interaction, every experience, every single day. Your unconscious you picks up patterns, and it's all within the goal of helping you to survive and thrive. And if it constantly sees certain ways of survival and thriving, if it constantly sees certain actions and behaviors, it's going to believe that that's just the way things are and that it needs to act in a certain way within that context. Yes, your unconscious self, you can, as long as you're always conscious and incredibly strong and have an enormous amount of willpower, sure, you can override what the unconscious you is trying to say, what it's trying to do, but why not make yourself into a team? Why would you put yourself in a situation where you're constantly in conflict with yourself? Now, this is the essence of the language of breath, philosophy, of breathwork and self-awareness. Yeah, oh my God, that doesn't sound like breathwork. Okay, well, you need to learn the language of breath. But it's also at the heart of what we are as a species. We have to learn that we are not just a conscious thinking person and then we have a body. Can we be truly an authentic person? Is it possible to be an authentic self? Can we be that authentic version of ourselves? You always are, and you can't not be. My friends, thanks so much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget to go out there and be kind to one another and to yourself.